Whenever you become completely absorbed in an emotional state, you are assuming that state as fulfilled. And if you persist in that emotion, if you continue with that emotion, it's going to be brought into your life, into your 3D world. So be very careful about your emotions throughout the day and the things that you're reacting to. Like Neville Goddard says in this chapter, is chapter 13, Acceptance from the Power of Awareness, which we're going to get into right now, is be very careful of your moods and your emotions. Because your emotions, if you are completely absorbed in an emotion of something going on in your 3D world, you're reacting to that. So you're assuming that state as fulfilled, so it's going to be keep being recreated into your 3D world. So be very careful. We're going to go over that and how to avoid that and actually how to use that to bring great things into your life and actually start creating this way. So start directing yourself subjectively, your mind subjectively, and start being emotional about the things that you want to have and stop being emotional about the things that you don't want to have. So if you're like in a relationship, if someone breaks up with you or something and you become emotional in that state of the breakup, then you're creating more breakups to happen in the future. Or if you have like a large bill or an unexpected bill come in the mail and you're just I can't believe this. You're emotional about that loss or that bill. You're creating more of those bills to come in the future. But if you have something great come into your life, like you have an unexpected check for $10,000 and you get really emotional about that, then you're creating more of that to come into your life. But you got to stay focused in that state of that fulfilled state of getting that money and become emotional. So if anything good happens to your life, become very emotional. Or if you see someone else's success, become very emotional about that success and be very happy and see the best in everything, because you're creating emotional charges that are going to dovetail into your life and create more of that into your life. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. This is The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Chapter 13, Acceptance, and I am very, very excited about this chapter. We're going to start off here with a quote from William Blake. Love William Blake. Okay, so let's see here. Man's perceptions are not bounded by organs of perception. He perceives more than sense, though ever so acute, can discover. William Blake. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into it. I got some highlighted points here. I'm going to give you my narrative and expound in some certain areas to help you better understand this. All right, so we're getting right into the meat of this book, though. This is getting very, very good. So, however much you seem to be living in a material world, you are actually living in a world of imagination. Okay, so you look out in your 3D world and it appears to be a solid reality, but really it's just an illusion. It's a hologram. It's a projection from inside of you. You are projecting. We're all projecting this projection. The screen of space is a hologram. Everything's a hologram. Everything is within. It's just a hologram you're looking at. It's just a projection, just like what he's saying right here. However much you seem to be living in a material world, you are actually living in a world of imagination where everything is created within you and then projected outwardly. The outer physical events of life are the fruit of forgotten blossom times, results of previous and unusually forgotten states of consciousness. So what he's talking about here is, before we got into the law of assumption or the law of attraction, where we were actually consciously creating, we were unconsciously creating. So we forgot, like Reddit says, physical events of life are the forgotten blossom times. So we forgot these blossom times. We forgot that we created them. So everything in your life you created, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you created those with your emotional states from the past. You have created everything in your life to this point. That's why it's so important to take full responsibility and stop pointing fingers outside and start looking within and changing your emotional charges, how you become emotional about things in your life, what you're reacting to, and the steps that you're taking. Because if you're always blaming, then you're creating more of that blame in your life. You're going to create more things that you're going to blame. You're going to keep blaming. The universe or the subconscious mind is going to give you more things to blame in your 3D world if you start blaming, because that's another emotional charge. And what you become completely absorbed in that emotional state is going to be recreated into your world over and over and over. So the world, your life, the way that it is because of you. It's because of your previous emotions, the things that you've been emotionally charged about and reacted to. So remember that. It's very important. But you can change it. That's the most important thing here that I love to talk about, is that you have the privilege now of changing it, of changing your entire world starting now. It doesn't matter how bad your world may be right now. You can change it. Right now, you have that privilege to change it by emotionally charging yourself with great things and seeing the best in everything. Seeing and being grateful. Start focusing your attention on the good. Emotionally charge yourself with all the great things in your life. And then those will be dovetailed into your following days, and more of that's going to be created in your 3D world, because your 3D world, like we've been talking about, is a hologram. It's created from within you. So never forget that, guys. All right, let's continue here. They are the ends running true of oftentimes forgotten imaginative origins. Whenever you become completely absorbed, here it is. I love Neville Goddard, huh? Whenever you become completely absorbed in an emotional state, you are at that moment assuming the feeling of the state fulfilled. And if persisted in, whatsoever you are intensely emotional about, you will experience in your world. It will be created. It will be manifested into your world. Okay? These periods of absorption, of concentrated attention, are the beginnings of the things you harvest or manifest. He says harvest, but that's manifest. So these periods of absorption, these emotional states of concentrated attention in these emotional areas, are the beginnings of the things you're going to manifest into your world. So there it is, okay? So be careful what you're emotionally charged about. Be very conscious and building that muscle of the mind so you can be aware of when it's happening and always keep bringing your mind back. Don't let your mind drift and let your mind just be focused on the 3D world. You got to break free from that and know when you're actually doing these things. Know when you're actually reacting when you're not supposed to be reacting. When you're actually being emotionally charged about negative things. When you know that's happening, you gotta catch yourself and bring it back and stop. Do not be emotional about it. Okay, so it is in these such moments that you are exercising your creative power, okay? The only creative power there is. It's the only creative power there is, okay? It's imagination. At the end of these periods or moments of absorption, you speed from these imaginative states where you have not been physically, because your mind will go to imaginative states, because that's what happens. Your mind will start imagining new things based on those emotional charges. So when you become emotional about, your imagination is automatically going to start thinking of different things that are similar to that. And that's how they become created into your future and will unfold and continue to be produced into your future. That's what he's saying here. Okay, so at the ends of these periods or moments of absorption, you speed from these imaginative states where you have not been physically to where you were physically an instant ago. In these periods, the imagined state is so real that when you return to your objective world and find that it is not the same as the imagined state, it is an actual shock. So this is talking about shocking time sense, actually going into the future, creating an imaginal scene so real, so vivid with all your senses. You know, you're tasting, you're touching, you're smelling, you're seeing, everything. You're bringing all your senses, and it becomes so real that when you actually come back from your imaginal state, it's a shock. That's when you've activated the positron, and actually what Richard Feynman won the Nobel Prize on. The positron, it's an actual shock to you. So you've shocked time sense, and you've created that event in the future to happen. So everything in your present state is going to change, and all these things are going to get out of your way and pull this thing to you. Whatever scene that you created, or whatever you wanted to do, be, or have, whatever imagined state you created, you're going to get there because you've activated that positron. So if you create your imaginal acts, and when you come back from them, you're actually really shocked. You're like, then you start to question the reality. That's when you've done it. That's when you've absolutely 100% done it, and you will get to that future result. Whatever you created, you're going to go there. That's exactly where you're going to go. Okay, so it's an actual shock. You've seen something in imagination with such vividness that now you wonder where the evidence of your senses can now be believed. Okay, so, and like Keats, you ask, Was it a vision or a waking dream? Okay, so fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? Okay, so this shock is what he talks about, what the shock does when you activate the positron. What does it do? This shock reverses your time sense. By this is meant that instead of your experience resulting from your past, it now becomes the result of being in imagination where you have not been physically. Okay, so in effect, this moves you across a bridge of incidents to the physical realization of your imagined state. So when you come out of that imagined state that you've created, so real, so vivid, with all your senses, and you come back and it's a shock, there's going to be a bridge of incidents that are going to lead you to that physical realization of that imagined state. Okay, so the man who at will can assume whatever state he pleases has found the keys to the kingdom of heaven. So when you can learn to create these scenes in your mind, and you've done it so many times, and you've worked on it so many times, you've gotten so good at it, you found the keys to the kingdom of heaven. You have the master key to creating anything that you want in your life. Anything, absolutely anything. The keys are desire, imagination, and a steadily focused attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The keys are desire, imagination. Okay, so these three things right here, the keys are these: desire, imagination, and a steadily focused attention. That's why we go over attention. That's why we develop the muscle of the mind, replaying the days of events in reverse order. Steadily focused attention, because you have to be able to stay in your imaginal scene. You're creating all your senses in there. So you must be able to control your attention without it drifting out of the scene all the time. Because if you're in the middle of a scene, you're creating it, and then your mind keeps going, oh, I got to do this tomorrow, or I did that happen yesterday, or I forgot to do this, or I need to go do that. Your mind's going everywhere. You're not going to make it real. You have to be able to control your attention in this imagined state and stay in it without your mind drifting. You have to have total control, a steadily focused attention, desire and imagination. Okay, so on the feeling of that wish fulfilled while you're in there. To such a man, any undesirable objective fact is no longer reality, and the ardent wish no longer a dream. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the window of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Okay, Malachi 3:10. The windows of heaven may not be opened, and the treasures seized by a strong will, but they open of themselves and present their treasures as a free gift, as a gift that comes when absorption reaches such a degree that it results in a feeling of complete acceptance. Complete acceptance is key here, guys. Absolutely key. The passage from your present state to the feeling of your wish fulfilled is not across a gap. So get that out of your mind. Right now, whatever you want in your life, whatever you're trying to manifest, realize right now that there is a connection of continuity between you and whatever you want, even if it's across the world, or it's 10 years from now, 10 months from now, or it's a person that's across the world. Doesn't matter. There's no gap between you and what you want. Anything that you want is already there. It's already there. All you have to do is manifest it and connect with it by extending your feelers. Okay, so there is continuity between the so-called real and the unreal. To cross from one state to another, you simply extend your feelers by assuming that you have it. You're assuming whatever it is that you want to do, be, or have, you assume it, and that's how you extend your feelers. Trust your touch. Trust what you're doing. Trust it, because once you understand what consciousness is and that there's no gap, you don't have to travel across a gap, that everything is already created, that's when you can assume something and know it and believe it. Okay, so that's how you cross from one state to the other. You simply extend your feelers, trust your touch, and enter fully into the spirit of what you are doing. Okay, not by power, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts, Zechariah 4:6. Okay, so assume the spirit, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you will have opened the windows to receive the blessing. To assume a state is to get into the spirit of it. Your triumphs will be a surprise only to those who did not know your hidden passage from the state of longing to the assumption of the wish fulfilled. The Lord of hosts will not respond to your wish until you have assumed the feeling of already being what you want to be. For acceptance is the channel of his creation. Acceptance is the Lord of hosts in action. All right, guys, we have the next chapter is the effortless way. This one's going to be good. I absolutely love this chapter, the effortless way. But we're going to give you a little recap here, what we went through right here on acceptance. Okay, so basically, whenever you become completely absorbed in an emotional state, you are attracting that more of that same emotion, and whatever is creating whatever that emotion is connected with, the continuity with that emotion is going to be created, because when you are completely emotionally absorbed in a state, you are assuming the feeling of that state as being fulfilled. So if you persist in that feeling, it will be manifested into your world. Okay, so be very careful with your emotions. Focus on the things that you want rather than the things you don't want, and be emotional about great things into your life, and never become emotional about things that you don't want in your life. Do not become emotional. If something bad happens to you, shut off your emotions. Focus on something that you want, and center your emotions with gratitude, or use it in some other degree. Do not get emotional about anything negative or bad that happens in your life, because when you do, you're assuming that state as fulfilled, and it will be manifested into your world, guys. But I love you guys very much, and give me one thing you guys are grateful for, and I will see you guys tomorrow.